Hello and welcome to a Digital Diamond Baseball tutorial that shows you how to draft an entire new library of players and create a season. In this case, I'm going to do a draft of all players in the National League. Before you do your draft, you should be sure to set up your organization so only the teams in your organization that you want to be part of your draft are in your organization. In this case, I've deleted all American League teams, leaving just the National League teams. And this ensures that my draft will consist of only National League players. Once I have my organization configured properly, I can go to the Season menu and choose Draft. And this brings up the Draft dialog. The first step in starting a draft is to click on the Start New Draft button. This will prompt you to make sure this is what you want to do, and the first thing that will happen if you click Yes is it will back up your current library. And this is important because when you start a draft, the system will release all players on the teams in your organization to a free agent pool and combine any duplicate player records into a single player record. For example, if a player played on two different teams during a season, that player will be combined into a single total record, and that will be the record that will be used during the draft. These are major changes to your library, so it's important that it backs up your library before this begins, so you can restore it later if you want to go back to the library as it was before the draft. In this case, I'm sure this is what I want to do. My library gets backed up, and the players are released to the free agent pool. The next step is to pick the order in which your teams will draft and whether you want the computer or the human to do the drafting. I'm going to give myself the second pick, and you can rearrange the other orderings using the up or down arrows in order to change when a team picks. Next thing you can do is choose Snake Draft Order if you'd like the order to reverse after each round, and you control the number of rounds in the draft overall. Once you've got your options set, click on OK, and the system prepares for the draft. As you can see, the current round is always shown, as well as the current pick is shown here in red. I can browse all the players that are in the free agent pool. I can filter just free agents. And I can filter by position if I like as well. Let's say I'm looking for a first baseman. This gives me all first basemen in the free agent pool. I can even sort them by the draft rating, which is an indication of a player's ability to create runs, or the runs created statistic. The higher the draft rating for a batter, the better. And I can sort by draft rating for pitchers as well, which is an indication of their ERA, taking out any effect that fielding, good or bad fielding, may have had on that ERA. So I can filter by free agents here and sort by draft rating for pitchers to find out what pitchers are potential picks. I can also look at my draft roster, and I'm drafting for Milwaukee, and you can see there's nobody in my draft roster yet because I haven't picked anyone. These two tabs are really helpful when you're trying to decide who you're going to pick. To start the draft, you can click on the Draft Player button, and as you can see, it's the computer's turn first. And I can decide whether to let the computer make this pick only, or whether to start the draft and let it continue until it encounters the next human pick or the end of the round. Or finally, I can draft until the end of the entire draft or the next human pick. In this case, I'm going to go until the end of the round or the next human pick. You can see the computer picked Matt Kemp as its first pick, and it stopped immediately because a human pick is next. Click the Draft Player button again, and it gives me a different dialog since it's now my turn to pick. I've got a couple of choices. One thing I could do is ask the computer to suggest a player. For example, I can ask the computer to pick the best batter, pitcher, starter, reliever, and so on. I'm going to ask for the best batter according to the computer, and Ryan Braun gets the nod. If that's who I want to pick, I can highlight him and choose OK. Alternatively, I can start typing the first few letters of a player's name, and I'll get back a list of players that match that criteria, and I can choose that player instead. After my pick is made, it progresses to the number 3 pick, and I can choose the Draft Player button again to get the ball rolling. In this case, there's a whole bunch of computer picks before I get to pick again. And I'm going to choose draft until the end of the draft or until the next human pick, which will progress the draft all the way to my next pick in round 2. As you can see, it brought me to round 2 and near the end. Because I had the snake option set in round 2, I'm now picking second to last rather than second to first. I can then proceed through the draft in this fashion in order to create an entirely new set of teams and players. Of course, you can have as many different human manager and computer manager pickers. And at any time, you can check the rosters of various teams to see how they're doing. Here's my team, and there's Matt Holliday, my only pick. He's listed as both a left fielder and a DH in my roster. Finishing this draft, I'm going to start a brand new draft just to show you how quickly you can draft an entire library of players with just the computer picking. This time around, I'm going to choose the same parameters, but I'm not going to let a human pick. And when I draft, I'll choose draft until the end of the draft or until the next human pick. Since there aren't any human picks, this should pick all drafts for all players and all teams. Draft is done, and we now have a whole new library of with different players on these teams, and you go and create a season and play out that season. Enjoy!